The world runs on an invisible network of rules, a social contract we all implicitly sign at birth. Most are sensible. Don't steal. Stop at red lights. But lurking in the law books of nations great and small are statutes so bizarre, so hilariously specific, they defy all logic. These aren't just quirky suggestions. They are actual, enforceable laws. And today, we're putting 50 of the most mind-bendingly strange ones under the microscope. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about order. 1. In Switzerland, a country known for precision, watches, and chocolate, you can get into genuine trouble for flushing the toilet after 10 p.m. This isn't a national law, but it's such a common rule in apartment buildings that it might as well be. Considered a basic element of protecting residents from noise pollution, landlords can and do write it into leases, making it legally enforceable. This creates a truly bizarre late-night dilemma. Do you break the rules and risk the wrath of your neighbors, or do you let it mellow? It's a powerful testament to the Swiss commitment to quiet, where the sound of plumbing is a threat to domestic tranquility. 2. In Chico, California, there's a municipal law that makes it illegal to build, maintain, or use a nuclear weapon within city limits. Violators can be fined $500. That's right. If you happen to be assembling a warhead in your garage, expect a slap on the wrist and a ticket from local code enforcement. The law is obviously symbolic, passed as a peace statement during the Cold War, but it technically makes Chico one of the few places on Earth where nuclear disarmament is enforced by meter maids. 3. In Sweden, you cannot paint your house any color you like. The local government must approve your choice to ensure it blends harmoniously with the neighborhood aesthetic. So if you're dreaming of a neon pink bungalow with lime green shutters, prepare for a firm Swedish nej. It's suburban socialism at its finest. Your front porch is now a matter of national design philosophy. Who knew Scandi minimalism could become a legal requirement? 4. In a small town in Poland, Winnie the Pooh is banned from playgrounds. The reason? His dubious sexuality and inappropriate lack of pants. In 2014, counselors in Tucson debated a playground's new mascot, and one official went on a bizarre rant against the beloved bear, calling him a hermaphrodite and criticizing his state of undress. They suggested a Polish bear instead, one that is dressed from head to toe. Poor Pooh, just trying to find some honey, and he gets dragged into an international decency scandal. 5. In Oklahoma, it's against the law to make ugly faces at a dog. You can be fined, arrested, or even jailed for disrespecting a canine in this manner. This law forces us to ask some profound legal questions. What is the legal definition of an ugly face? Is a simple grimace a misdemeanor, while a full-on, tongue-out, eye-crossing monstrosity is a felony? We imagine courtrooms filled with artists sketching the defendant's alleged expression while the canine victim sits on the witness stand, barking its testimony. 6. In Samoa, it is illegal for a husband to forget his wife's birthday. While this might sound like a joke, it's a real law in the Pacific Island nation. The penalty isn't exactly hard labor, but a stern warning and a fine are on the table. If the husband forgets a second time, the fine gets bigger. It's the law basically acting as the world's most powerful calendar reminder, a government-enforced tool to ensure domestic tranquility. Other countries have tax codes. Samoa has relationship-saving statutes. 7. In Turkmenistan, black cars are illegal. In 2018, the country's authoritarian president, who has a strange obsession with the color white, effectively banned black cars because he believes white brings good fortune. Residents of the capital, Ashgabat, were forced to repaint their black cars silver or white at great personal expense. The police simply started impounding any dark-colored vehicle they saw. It's a surreal example of a dictator's personal whim becoming the law of the land, turning a color choice into an act of political defiance. 8. In Victoria, Australia, you are legally not allowed to change your own light bulb unless you are a licensed electrician. This one sounds like a classic urban myth, but it has a basis in truth. Victoria's Electricity Safety Act of 1998 is incredibly strict, classifying any work on an electrical installation, no matter how minor, as something that requires a licensed professional. While you're unlikely to be hauled off to jail for a clandestine bulb swap, if something were to go wrong, like a fire, your insurance claim could be denied because you performed illegal electrical work. 9. In France, you cannot legally name a pig Napoleon. This law was enacted to preserve the dignity and honor of the Emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte. It's a very specific form of historical reverence that has survived into the 21st century. While other farm animals are fair game, the pigs of France are forever barred from being named after the nation's most famous general. You have to appreciate the level of pettiness involved in making sure no farmer can mock a long-dead emperor with his livestock. 10. In Canada, it's illegal to pay for an item with too many coins. The Currency Act of 1985 sets specific limits on what is considered a legitimate tender. For example, a store can legally refuse your payment if you try to use more than 25 pennies or more than $5 worth of nickels. If you're trying to use loonies, the $1 coins, the limit is $25. So that lifelong dream of buying a new TV by dumping a literal ton of change on the counter is sadly against the law. 11. In Singapore, the sale and import of chewing gum have been illegal since 1992. This isn't just a fine for littering, it's a full-scale war on Wrigley's. The government didn't just dislike gum on sidewalks, they viewed it as a threat to their multi-billion-dollar public transit system after vandals started sticking it on train door sensors. The only exception is for therapeutic, dental, or nicotine gum, which you can only get with a doctor's prescription. Imagine having to explain to your doctor that you have a medical need for a stick of Orbit. 12. In Japan, there's a city that banned walking while using your phone. Not just discouraged, banned. In Yamato City, if you're caught texting while walking in public, you can be fined or reprimanded. Officials claim it's to reduce accidents, but it feels more like the plot of a dystopian anime where Big Brother isn't watching your politics, just your Candy Crush score. 13. In Arizona, it is a felony to cut down a saguaro cactus. These iconic desert giants can live for over 150 years, and the state does not mess around with protecting them. If you get caught harming one, you could face up to 25 years in prison. That's a more severe penalty than for many violent crimes. It's a clear message. In Arizona, you can do a lot of things, but if you so much as look at a cactus the wrong way, the state will treat you like you tried to knock over a casino. 14. It is illegal to leave your house in Thailand without wearing underwear. While this law is on the books, the enforcement mechanism remains a terrifying mystery. How would they even check? Is there a special division of the Royal Thai Police dedicated to panty patrol? It seems like one of those laws designed to create maximum psychological discomfort with minimal chance of ever being enforced. Still, it's probably best to err on the side of caution and just follow the rules on this one. 15. In the United Kingdom, it is illegal to handle a salmon in suspicious circumstances. This gem comes from the Salmon Act of 1986. The wording is so perfectly Britishly vague that it's a masterpiece. What constitutes a suspicious circumstance? Is a man in a trench coat furtively trying to fit a 20-pound salmon into a briefcase suspicious enough? The law was designed to combat poaching, but it created a scenario where any law-abiding citizen carrying a fish could theoretically be a criminal mastermind. 16. In Japan, it's illegal for anyone between the ages of 40 and 74 to be overweight. As part of a national health campaign, the Metabo Law, passed in 2008, requires companies and local governments to measure their employees' waistlines annually. For men, the limit is 33.5 inches. For women, it's 35.4 inches. If you're over the limit, you're not jailed, but you are required to attend diet and exercise counseling. It's a government-mandated, "we're doing this for your own good," which is either brilliantly proactive or terrifyingly intrusive, depending on your love for cake. 17. In Malaysia, It's illegal to name a child after insects, vegetables, or colors. This means little beetle tan or carrot limb will never get to exist. The law was created to protect children from embarrassment, as if kids don't already get bullied for being named Jason. It's a bureaucratic flex on parenting creativity. Your kid's identity must be approved by the Ministry of Naming Things that sound normal. 18. On the beautiful Italian island of Capri, it's illegal to wear noisy footwear. Specifically, the law targets loud sandals and wooden clogs. The locals value their peace and quiet so much that they've legally outlawed footwear that produces an excessive clatter. Tourists have actually been fined for violating the ordinance. Imagine being cited by the police not for speeding, but because your choice of flip-flops was deemed a public nuisance. This is what peak tranquility sounds like, or rather, what it doesn't sound like. 19. According to the German Penal Code, a pillow can be considered a passive weapon. This means that if you hit someone with a pillow during a fight, you could theoretically be charged with assault with a dangerous object. The logic is that while a pillow is soft, it can still be used to smother someone. So that playful pillow fight at a sleepover could, in the eyes of German law, escalate into a scene from a John Wick movie. It's a legal system that's prepared for every single bizarre eventuality. 20. In the African nation of Burundi, jogging is a criminal offense. This isn't a joke. In 2014, the country's president outlawed group jogging, claiming that these gatherings were being used as a front for planning subversive, anti-government activities. Citizens have been arrested and sentenced to life in prison simply for going for a run with their friends. It's a chilling reminder of how an authoritarian regime can turn something as innocent and healthy as exercise into an act of political treason. 21. In Sweden, you need a government permit for spontaneous dancing. Yes, if a group of people suddenly starts dancing in a public place that doesn't have a specific license for it, it's technically illegal. The law, which has its roots in the 1930s, requires bars and pubs to have a dansstillstand, or dancing permit. While it's rarely enforced on random citizens, it's a legendary piece of bureaucracy that perfectly captures the idea of organized fun versus a state-sanctioned crackdown on unscheduled joy. 22. In Quitman, Georgia, it is illegal for a chicken to cross the road. This law doesn't target the chickens, of course. It places the legal responsibility squarely on the chicken's owner. The ordinance was created to compel farmers to keep their livestock properly penned and off public thoroughfares. Still, it effectively kills one of the oldest jokes in the book. Why did the chicken cross the road? In Quitman, it didn't, because its owner would have faced a hefty fine. 23. In 2002, Greece banned all forms of electronic games, nationwide. The goal was to crack down on illegal electronic gambling, but the lawmakers wrote the law so broadly that it outlawed everything. This included playing Snake on your Nokia phone or even using the chess program on your home computer. The law was so absurd that a man was fined for playing a game on his Game Boy in an internet cafe. It was eventually overturned as unconstitutional, but for a brief, glorious period, Greece was the safest place in the world from a digital Goomba. 24. In Eboli, a small town south of Naples, Italy, it is illegal to kiss in a moving vehicle. This rule is all about road safety. The local authorities decided that a passionate embrace could be a dangerous distraction for the driver, so they banned it entirely within city limits, with fines reaching up to €500. It's the ultimate romance killer. Your scenic drive along the Italian coast has to remain strictly platonic until you've pulled over and engaged the parking brake. 25. Any sturgeon or whale found on the coast of the United Kingdom is legally the property of the reigning monarch. This law, which dates back to the year 1324, classifies these creatures as fishes royal. If a fisherman catches one, he is legally obligated to offer it to the crown first. This means there's a dusty old law book somewhere that gives Queen Elizabeth's estate a legal claim to every beached whale in the country. It's the most British problem imaginable. What does one do with a gifted, deceased 40-ton sea mammal? 26. In Connecticut, for a pickle to be legally considered a pickle, it must bounce. This is not folk wisdom. It's a standard enshrined in law. In 1948, 2 men were arrested for selling pickles that were unfit for human consumption. In the subsequent legal battle, the state's Food and Drug Commissioner famously declared that a proper pickle, when dropped from the height of 1 foot, should bounce. This simple test became the legal benchmark. This implies the existence, at least historically, of a pickle inspector whose job was to stand in a lab, solemnly dropping pickled cucumbers and taking notes on their elasticity. 27. Canadian law mandates that at least 35% of the popular music played on its radio stations must be Canadian content. This is the government's official strategy to prevent the nation's airwaves from being completely conquered by American pop stars. The CanCon rules have a complex point system to define what makes a song truly Canadian, involving the nationality of the artist, lyricist, and even where it was recorded. It's a form of cultural protectionism that ensures artists like Drake and The Weeknd get airtime, but also means generations of Canadians have been legally required to endure a certain amount of Nickelback. 28. In Portugal, it is technically illegal to urinate in the ocean. While it seems like the most unenforceable law ever written, it exists as part of the country's maritime decency regulations. The logistical nightmare of proving this offense is staggering. It suggests a world where the Portuguese Coast Guard has a specialized division, equipped with high-tech thermal imaging and water salinity sensors, dedicated solely to hunting down aquatic offenders. Their motto, "You can run, but you can't hide. Your sudden change in body temperature." 29. In Alabama, it's illegal to have an ice cream cone in your back pocket at any time. This sounds like peak legislative nonsense until you learn the brilliant, old-timey reason behind it. This was once a popular method for stealing horses. A thief would put a cone in their back pocket, the horse would follow them, lured by the sweet treat, and the thief could lead it away without ever touching it. If caught, they could claim the horse simply followed them. So the law isn't against ice cream. It's an anti-horse theft measure from a bygone era. 30. Under the French Civil Code, parents are held legally and financially responsible for any damages caused by their children, even if the children are legally adults but still living at home and financially dependent. There is no ambiguity here. If your 22-year-old son, who lives in your basement, accidentally crashes a drone through a neighbor's priceless stained glass window, the bill goes directly to you. The "my kid is an adult and makes his own choices" defense holds absolutely zero water in a French courtroom. 31. In Vermont, it is illegal to tie a giraffe to a telephone pole. This law stands as a magnificent monument to legislative over-preparation. There is no famous incident of a giraffe-related public utility crisis in Vermont's history. This was likely a preemptive strike, a bold statement from lawmakers who decided they would not let their state be caught unprepared for the theoretical possibility of a rogue giraffe owner. Somewhere, a lawmaker stood up and said, "Friends, we have a potential giraffe problem," and nobody laughed. 32. In Western Australia, it is illegal for any one person to possess more than 50 kilograms, or about 110 pounds, of potatoes. This bizarre law is a remnant of the Great Depression and World War II-era market controls, when a government body called the Potato Marketing Corporation ran the entire industry. For decades, they maintained a complete monopoly, and this law was used to crush any competition. It effectively turned potato farming into a narco-state, complete with potato mules and secret underground potato deals. 33. In Alabama, it is illegal to wear a fake mustache in a church if it causes laughter. The sheer specificity is what makes this a masterpiece of lawmaking. It's not just about decorum, it's about the type of disruption. A fake mustache that causes quiet contemplation is fine. A fake mustache that elicits solemn nods of approval is okay. But the moment that fake mustache crosses the line into comedy and provokes a chuckle from the pews, you have broken the law. This creates a terrifyingly subjective standard for ecclesiastical law enforcement. 34. In China, it is illegal for any Tibetan Buddhist monk to reincarnate without the express permission of the Chinese government. Enacted in 2007, this is not a spiritual guideline. It is a state regulation from the Communist Party, which is officially atheist. The law requires all lamas who wish to be reborn to file a formal application with several government offices. It is perhaps the most audacious power play in modern history, a government attempting to bureaucratize the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth for its own political ends. 35. It is illegal for any member of parliament to enter the House of Commons in the United Kingdom wearing a suit of armor. Dating back to the statute forbidding bearing of armor in 1313, this law was designed to prevent nobles from intimidating each other with military force during political debates. The law is still technically in effect, which is a shame. Imagine how much more interesting C-SPAN would be if political debates involved the risk of someone challenging the opposition to a formal joust over tax policy. 36. In Maryland, it is illegal to be mean to an oyster. While the statute is aimed at protecting the state's vital oyster industry from unsustainable harvesting practices, the language is wonderfully personified. It forces one to consider what constitutes cruelty to a bivalve. Is speaking to it in a harsh tone considered harassment? Does failing to compliment its pearlescent sheen count as emotional neglect? It's a law that accidentally grants legal protections to an oyster's feelings. 37. On the beaches of Tel Aviv, Israel, it is illegal to bring a bear. There is a specific municipal ordinance that bans the presence of bears on the city's famous coastlines. We are left with no choice but to assume that at some point, this was enough of a problem to warrant a specific rule. The law is a solution, which means there was a problem. And the thought of anyone dealing with the logistics of a beach day with a bear, the sand, the fur, the sheer terror of other beachgoers, is a testament to human ambition. 38. In South Dakota, it is illegal to fall asleep in a cheese factory. This law is not about general workplace safety. It's specific to cheese production facilities. One can only imagine the incident that led to this: a sleepy worker, a vat of cheddar, and a story that has been passed down through generations of South Dakotan cheese artisans. It's a law that answers a question nobody thought to ask, and in doing so, creates a dozen more about the secret narcoleptic history of American dairy production. 39. In Trinidad and Tobago, as well as several other Caribbean nations, it is illegal for any non-military personnel to wear camouflage clothing. This isn't a fashion suggestion, it's a matter of national security. The law is strictly enforced to prevent civilians from impersonating soldiers and to stop gangs from using military patterns to create fear and confusion. So that trendy camouflage jacket you think is a cool fashion statement could, in the wrong country, be interpreted as a criminal act and land you in a world of trouble. 40. In France, you can legally marry a dead person. This practice, known as posthumous matrimony, is very real and enshrined in the French Civil Code. It requires proof that the deceased intended to marry you before they died, and you need permission directly from the President of France. The law was famously pushed through after a dam burst in 1959, killing over 400 people, including a man whose fiancée petitioned the government to let her marry him anyway. It is a profoundly sad, romantic, and bizarrely bureaucratic process that allows love to legally conquer death itself. 41. In North Carolina, a non-profit organization is not allowed to hold a bingo game that lasts for more than 5 hours. The government has put a legal time limit on how long seniors can be allowed to enjoy their favorite pastime in one sitting. One can only assume this law was passed to prevent the rise of underground multi-day bingo marathons, complete with energy drinks and professional spotters. It's a solution to a problem that sounds infinitely more fun than the law itself. 42. In Reggio Emilia, Italy, a local ordinance once banned sandcastles on the beach. Why? They were deemed a threat to public safety. So while children worldwide dream of moats and turrets, in this sunny corner of Europe, building a mini castle could get you a stern talking to or even a fine. It's the only place where kicking over someone's sandcastle might actually qualify as community service. 43. It's illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub in Arizona. This law originates from a 1924 incident where a rancher's donkey had grown accustomed to sleeping in an old bathtub on his property. When a local dam broke, the flash flood washed the tub, with the donkey still in it, miles down the valley. A massive effort was required to rescue the poor animal. Shortly after, the town passed a law to prevent such a ridiculous and dangerous situation from ever happening again. 44. It is illegal to take coins out of the Trevi Fountain in Rome. While millions of tourists toss coins in for good luck, they may not realize they are donating to a legally protected fund. Every night, the fountain is drained, and the coins, which can total over $1 million a year, are collected and given to a Catholic charity to help the city's needy. So while it might be tempting to fish out a few euros, you'd not only be breaking the law, you'd be stealing from the poor under the watchful eyes of the God of the sea. 45. In North Carolina, it is illegal to sing off-key. This law falls under the broader category of disturbing the peace. While you're unlikely to be arrested for a bad karaoke performance, the statute technically gives the police the authority to shut down anyone whose vocal talents are deemed a public nuisance. It's a law that weaponizes music criticism, turning "you're a little pitchy" from a casual insult into a potential legal accusation. 46. Until very recently, having a private internet connection in your home in Cuba was illegal for most citizens. For years, the government maintained a strict state monopoly on telecommunications. Access was limited to absurdly expensive, state-controlled Wi-Fi hotspots in public parks, where an hour of service could cost a significant portion of an average monthly salary. It was a stark example of a government using information control as a tool of power, turning access to the modern world into a punishable offense. 47. The concept of jaywalking is almost exclusively an American crime. In most of the world, pedestrians can cross the street wherever they deem safe. The term and the laws against it were heavily promoted in the 1920s by the auto industry. They wanted to shift the perception of who owned the streets from pedestrians to cars. They ran campaigns portraying street crossers as backwards jays, a slang term for a clueless person. They successfully lobbied for laws that turned a normal human activity into a finable offense to make way for the automobile. 48. In North Korea, wearing blue jeans is illegal. To the totalitarian regime, denim represents the corrupt, imperialist influence of the United States. Along with other capitalist fashion choices like certain piercings, it is considered a symbol of anti-socialist behavior. Government-sanctioned fashion police patrol the streets, looking for anyone who dares to wear the forbidden fabric. It's a chilling reminder that, in some places, a simple pair of Levi's is not just clothing, but a powerful and dangerous political statement. 49. In Paraguay, dueling is legal, but only if both participants are registered blood donors. While a 1992 law officially decriminalized the practice, this bizarre and morbidly practical condition was part of the bill. The logic, if you can call it that, seems to be that if you're going to engage in a potentially lethal activity, you should at least do something to help society first. It's the ultimate buy one, get one free deal for civic and personal disputes. All right, we've dissected 49 pieces of legislative madness, and there's just one left. But before we get to our grand finale, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most mind-shattering law on today's list goes to China, for making it illegal for Buddhist monks to reincarnate without government permission. It wins because it's one thing to regulate traffic or taxes, but it's a whole other level of bureaucratic hubris to try and put the eternal cycle of rebirth on a government form. Do you agree? Or did another law earn that dubious honor? Let us know your verdict in the comments. And now, for our final number. 50. In the French winemaking town of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, it is illegal for flying saucers to fly over or land in the vineyards. This is not a joke. In 1954, the mayor issued a municipal decree formally banning the flying over, landing, or taking off of aircraft known as flying saucers or flying cigars. The law was a genius publicity stunt that brought worldwide attention to the town's wine. It was never repealed. This means that any alien visitor planning a trip to France must check local zoning ordinances first, lest their intergalactic wine tour end with their spaceship being impounded. So there you have it. These laws are more than just bizarre rules. They're a strange and hilarious reflection of our history, our fears, and our often clumsy attempts to control the world around us. From protecting donkeys in bathtubs to regulating the afterlife, they prove that when it comes to human logic, anything is possible. So we have to ask, what's the one unwritten rule in your city or country that you think should be a real law? We'll be reading your proposals in the comments. For more journeys into legislative insanity, make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you for the next one.